Welcome to a brand new episode of Picking Up the Pixels RPG Love. I'm your host, Boston, and joining me as always is Musim.
Hello.
Let's get right. Well, let's talk about first here at the beginning. This is a listener-supported show. If you'd like to support this podcast and all the fine E1M1 podcasts, you can do this. So at e1m1.cash, the ones are the numbers. $5 tiers of recommended one. That gets you everything over there, all the good stuff. All right, Musim, what have you been playing this past month?
Life. Not
Busyness.
a lot, man. I was trying to remember where I left off on talking about Expedition 33.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect I'm in the same place, which is I was talking with a friend, and I am like, there's this big area. Like, basically, at some point, you get the ability to fly over the map and all that.
Oh, okay.
Um, and that's kind of your run around and do everything moment. Um,
Oh, okay.
it sounds like I could go ahead and continue the story, and at some point it will give me some sort of, is there anything else you want to do here, warning kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing before it sends me out. But yeah, so truthfully, so the story's really, really fascinating. The world's really fascinating in this, but um, I think my favorite part is just wandering around the world and seeing all the really weird stuff
Mm-hmm.
and mythology that they built into it just around, and it's stuff I wanted okay, okay, so here's one I can talk about that is not like a story or character spoiler or anything. It's just these exist in the world and do this thing.
Okay.
um and honestly, I don't remember the names of all the different races at this point anyway, but the it's not the Jestals, is it? It's well, they have those little creatures that have a village, right?
Oh, yeah.
Uh, you
Mm-hmm.
you find the village pretty early, and their whole shtick is they don't really die. You can kill them, but they're resurrected. And you can find a lot of stuff to do with that kind of resurrection process throughout the game. Like there's a river they come out of, and that's a whole area, like optional area you can go to.
Hmm.
Um, it's I don't know, it's really cool. At this point, I've talked about this game so much on this podcast, I really don't have anything to add. So hopefully next month I just say I beat it.
Right, right.
So, and that is literally all I've played. So,
Oh, okay. Um, I I have continued with the Final Fantasy V Forge Out Fiesta. This is kind of on the back burner for right now, not because I'm burnt out of it or anything, burnt out on it. Anyways, um, but it's because Death Stranding 2 came out. So I was like, well,
mm,
I'm gonna go play that. I'm now 125 hours into that, which is like
whew,
almost part of
man.
part of that is pause time. So like you kind of have to add like an extra, probably like 25% on any of my games of just like, okay, I needed to pause this game to go do something. That thing took me 4 hours longer than expected, and my PS5 is just like chugging along over there, hopefully happily. I'm fingers crossed. Um, but that has been my the thing that I've been spending the majority of my time with this month. I'm close to the platinum on that, um, but sadly that's not an RPG, even though it does have a very cool tech skill tree. Um, so sort of taking a break from Fiesta. The last run that I'm on is a geyser run, which is it favors water jobs more than any of the other ones. So this one, I have a really strong run of Time Mage, Monk, Geomancer, and Red Mage. Um, these are it's an interesting combo of jobs. Monk is like usual the weakest of the four. Um, Monk seems really great on paper. Really like, yeah, I don't even have to use weapons. Like I can just punch everything throughout the whole game. Great. Um, but it basically at the halfway point of the game, their attack power doesn't keep up with the rest of the game, which is understandable and a little bit like, all right, well, you just gave me tossing elixirs for a while here. Um, but I do have the potentially incredible combination of Red Mage and Time Mage. Red Mage can learn at the very, very, very end of its the thing it learns for its jobs. It learns something called Dual Cast, where it can, as the name says, you can just cast any magic spell twice. And it's not inherently very strong because the red mage can only cast, it's like the first 3 levels of black and white magic, so it's nothing really that strong. um, but if you can learn it on a class and then switch them to something else, then you can get a time mage that can potentially cast 2 time spells in one turn. And that does include the highest level spells for time mage, like meteor and stuff like that. So you can take a job like time mage that's already significantly strong and then be like, yeah, and now you can do that twice. You can do some really wacky stuff, like there's some a spell that I always forget the name of, but it basically stops the battle completely, and your party still acts, but the enemies don't, and that lasts for a turn or two, I think. So you can do that, like, oh, I'm gonna cast a spell to stop the battle, and then now I can do anything else I want for basically double the amount of turns. So it's some pretty wild stuff overall. But if anyone is still interested in the Fiesta, for jobfiesta.com, it does run until the end of the month, until the end of August. And there's a great channel in our Discord server, discord.tvgp.tv, that there's a bunch of people, there's a couple of people that started a run this year. Someone finished their first run this year, which was really great. And there's a bunch of us in there that are, continuing to play as many runs as we can every year. So if you need help, you need somewhere to get started, that would be a really great place to do it. Okay, next game here is the Division 2. I continue to play this now that I feel like I'm largely done with the expansion. I'm kind of doing the regular weekly reset stuff. During the season, they've done this really interesting thing where they call them manhunts. It's basically every week they give you 3. They're missions, and they're kind of, I don't want to say they're riddles, but they don't tell you exactly what to do. But a lot of it is like, it's very obvious stuff. Where it'd be like, maybe we should could take ground in the East Mall, and it's like 0 out of 4, and it's basically like capture all 4 control points on the East Mall in Washington, D.C. So it's like stuff that is fairly obvious, I think, if you have been playing for a little bit. And if not, there's plenty of websites out there like, yeah, just go do these 3 steps. And then at the end, they give you a little bit of a like an audio log between some characters that's kind of continuing the story of like post the expansion and then leading up to whatever is going to be next. I don't really know because I'm not like a Division super lore guy. But I kind of like how they do that system because I don't need to play a lot of the Division every week. Like, I'm not going in there and farming for 15 hours every week. But you give me a couple of tasks to do that'll maybe take me an hour, I could play an hour of the Division 2 pretty happily every week and like make some progress on this season pass and you know kind of have a little bit of fun and say like, all right, yeah, like okay, I played some Division 2. I had a pretty good time. All right. Um, and I feel like we talked about this recently on TVGP because the Nymph has been playing it from the beginning. So he's going from like the level 1
Mm.
experience, and I have I've respected Division 2 for a while now, and it's interesting hearing him play it from the start and getting kind of the same appreciation that the Division 2 really respects your time. And I don't think we get that a lot in a lot of live service games. A lot of live service games are just like hitting you and hitting you and hitting you and be like, cool, just grind more and more and more and spend more time and in some of them spend more money. And in Division 2, you can do that. Like it's there's no weekly cap of what you can do. Like you can just play forever all week if you want, or you can go in there and you can play for an hour or two or more if you really want. And I think find yourself coming out of it fairly satisfied, which I think is kind of an anomaly nowadays for a lot of live service games, especially one that's been running for they're in their 7th year right now of Division 2. Um, and I feel like that's usually when live service games kind of like tighten the belt, or maybe I should say tighten the noose a little bit of like, all right, you're still here, you're playing. We're gonna get those playtime metrics up. Like you're gonna grind. And Division 2, we talked about a little bit. There's a really great mode in there called Countdown. It's an 8-player mode that has matchmaking, and you go in there at the longest. It's going to be a 20-minute run, and it showers you with loot. Like you're clearing an encounter, and there's a number of encounters in there, and you're getting probably 10, 12 drops from one single encounter. And there's usually at least 4 encounters, and then kind of like a big crescendo thing at the end where you're fighting enemies that are just dropping stuff like candy. And that feels really great, especially when you sort of pair that with, like, I'll be honest, if you're not starting the game a lot, and I haven't played Division 2 consistently since it came out. Um, a lot of that stuff I'm picking up is junk, but because of the other systems that are in the game, especially like the expertise and uh, the crafting table and that sort of stuff, all of that stuff is worthwhile because if anyone hasn't seen or heard about the kind of library system, basically you're taking items and you're extracting their stats out of that weapon, so you're destroying it at the same time, but you're putting that in an account wide library. So if you find like a shotgun drop that has, let's say as an example, a max range of like plus 15 range, you can actually destroy that shotgun and put that value in your library and then apply that value to a shotgun you really like. So like let's say you got a shotgun that you really love and maybe one of the stats or like one of the bonuses on it is bad, or maybe you really love it but the range stat is only plus 3 instead of this plus 15 you have. You can either replace a bad stat with one that you like, that you've extracted, or continue to invest and upgrade that stat that was weaker than the maximum you have in your library. Um,
That
so
sounds awesome.
it's really cool because like you go and you spend 15 20 minutes in Countdown, and maybe you get 45 items, let's say on like a really good run. most of them are probably going to be bad, or like maybe they're not an upgrade for the one you have, or if it's a duplicate, maybe it's not the best roll you could get. That's okay, because maybe one of its values can be extracted into your library, and you have to extract each gun type, so like shotgun, assault rifle, rifle, marksman rifle, etc., etc. They all have different stats from each other. So you have hundreds of stats in your library that you're extracting and filling up over time. So even if you get like 75 to 85 or 95% of that stuff you're picking up isn't stuff you're going to equip, that's okay, because you'll probably extract that into your library. And you're not only extracting stats, but you're extracting core stats, which is like a Division two thing that's like a little too inside baseball. I won't go into. Um,
Mm.
but then you're also extracting skills too. So like you can extract multiple things from each one of these weapons, and that system also applies to your armor. So like you're just extracting a bunch of stuff, and then if you find a build you really like, and maybe two of the three stats are fine, or maybe two of the three stats are really good, and that one or maybe the talent just like aren't really good at all, you can just invest in that piece by re-rolling or upgrading that stuff from the library, and that stuff feels really great. And then on the flip side, if you come out of an activity like that and you have all this gear and none of it can go into your library, like maybe it's not the stats or the values on it aren't better than what you had in your library, or you've already extracted those skills or talents or whatever. There's also another system that initially sounds really confusing, and I think they explain it the best way they can, but it's kind of a complicated system until you just kind of use it, and it's the proficiency and expertise system. And basically, what it's meant to do is, as you use any of your gear, so weapons or armor or any of your skills or anything, you get more proficient with them, and you can level up your proficiency on that 10 times. And whenever you max out your proficiency with that, you can then start investing into expertise. And with expertise, every level of expertise gets you plus 1% either weapon damage or armor, depending on if it's a weapon or an armor. And that goes all the way up to 30. So you can potentially get an extra 30% armor per piece or weapon damage per weapon. So it's a pretty powerful system, but where it really comes into play is you can donate any of your junk to the proficiency and expertise system. So you kind of had the thing of like it's filtering down from the top to the bottom of like, okay, got all this gear, I went through all of it, like I'm standing in the White House, I'm going through all of it. I can't equip any of it. Okay, cool. Can I extract any of it into my library? No, I can't. Okay, cool. I can probably donate it to the proficiency system. And as you donate stuff and you grow your proficiency, then you get higher levels of expertise, and then all of your gear can get way stronger just by investing basically junk loot, which I think is really clever because, look, this is an RPG podcast. We have played loot games like this, like even if you played any of the Diablo games, half of the time you're just like, okay, cool, it's not purple, it's not exotic, it's not a green gear piece. I genuinely don't care about it. And on a lot of these games, you just kind of leave it on the ground because, like, well, I'm not going to fill up my bag with junk, and they don't sell for anything. So, like, why would I bother even picking it up? But I think Division Two has done a really great job of saying, like, no, you should pick up all of this stuff because you can invest in it in a number of ways. And I think that helps so much in a game like this of like, I think it feels natural when you run an activity and you're like, okay, me and my friends just like ran a raid or whatever, and 8 of us spent an hour and a half or 2 hours running a raid, and we got nothing. That
Yeah,
sucks. Like that doesn't feel good. It's like, no, now you got a whole bunch of stuff that you can feed into a bunch of these systems. Um, and I
that
think
sounds
that,
magical. I wish all these games would do something like that. Like
yeah,
that's the I mean, that's the biggest gripe on any of these games as service, whether honestly, even if we're talking about, well, okay, maybe not the biggest gripe on gotchas, but close to
but
it.
it's the same.
Like,
It's a similar system. Yeah,
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 yeah, like don't waste my time. Like,
right.
yeah,
Yeah. So I really wish more games would steal this system, honestly, because like even if you spend all of this time and you spend all of this loot getting all this stuff and investing it into these systems, like your reward at the end of the day is an extra percent of weapon damage, and it's not like +1 weapon damage where you're already doing like 4,000. So it's like, oh, +1, and I'm doing 4,001. Whoopity doo, and it's like, no, you're doing +1%, and you're working towards +30%. Like that's a that's a huge buff for
yeah.
investing your time in this system. Um, so I think it's really great. I agree. I really wish uh, more games would steal this system outright, because it's just sort of like, okay, yeah, like give me a reason to keep all this junk loot. Give me a reason to like. It's like when I go and I do these weekly manhunts, a lot of times it'll be like, okay, capture a bunch of control points out in the open world, and then maybe go do a bounty or two. And I hate the bounties in this game. This is the only reason I will ever do them. Um, and then it'll be like, okay, do the Air and Space Museum mission on hard or higher difficulty. And it's like, okay, I will do all of that because one, I enjoy playing the game, obviously, but two, I'm gonna get a bunch of loot for it. I'm gonna feed it into a bunch of these systems, and that's gonna feel real good. Like each, and this kind of plays into the kind of bar filling sicko that I am, is that each and every individual weapon and armor piece in the game has a bar to be filled in the proficiency system. So at the current moment, I think there's high 400s, low 500s of bars to fill up. And each one of those can be filled 10 times. So, like, you're not going to get like 2 drops of this gun and be like, yes, I filled a proficiency. It's like, nope. Like, get keep getting them, keep filling them, or keep using that weapon to fill that, or that armor piece or that armor set or whatever. So it's really great. I really like this game. It's been really interesting to hear the Nymph playing through it. He's playing it with his kid, and having them go through the kind of like level 1 to level 40, and then breaking kind of open the end game of like, here's all these activities they've added over the years. Like there's 2 pieces of DLC, like 2 expansions. Here's all that stuff that they have, all these new maps and new areas and all that stuff, and hearing the kind of trials and tribulations they've gone through doing that, which has been pretty fun. So I'm happy to hear that it still is beginner friendly. The community is really good, and honestly, like Division 2 is usually like $5 on sale most of the time, and it's on Game Pass right now. So it's like you're not doing a lot of financial heavy lifting here, which I think is really great. Um, so that's Division 2. I'm still having a ton of fun with it. It's kind of in the I play this weekly thing of like, I'm not getting in there doing my dailies. I'm not getting in there like doing all of the weekly missions or anything. But I'm doing the story stuff. Once I'm done with the story stuff, which I think is done in 2 weeks, I believe. Um, Once I'm done with that, I'll probably put Division 2 down until the next season starts in 8 or 9 weeks, I think it is. And I'll be pretty happy with that. Like, I don't This isn't a type of game where I feel like I need to play every day or I need to complete 100% of everything. Like that doesn't feel like where I'm at with this game, and I'm pretty happy with that overall. Last game I played here is Destiny 2: The Edge of Fate, the brand new expansion that is out. I I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't know where to start with the Edge of Fate. Um, it's real bad, like
Oh man.
on almost every level, and I get what Bungie was doing because so I've talked about this before. It bears repeating. When the last expansion, the Final Shape, came out, that was the end of the first Destiny saga. So the Light and Dark saga. It was the first 10 years of Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. And they really successfully wrapped up that entire saga. I really thought they were going to like trip over themselves at the end, but they did a really, really good job. And I would be hard pressed to think of a better ending than what we got. So they were in a bit of a challenging position of, well, what do we do next? Like, now that we've kind of finished the first big story, where does Destiny, from a story perspective, go next? And the thing that they had said is, well, we're going to start a brand new saga. So we're going to start something called the Fate Saga. And they were leading up to it a little bit in the seasons between the Final Shape and then this new expansion, the Edge of Fate. Sort of to kind of mixed reception. But they said, like this is going to be the beginning of a brand new story. Sorry, Discord just, of course, because I'm in a video call, Discord is going to be like, hey, let's talk about your badge. It's like, stop it. Go away. Like, I'm busy, man. Anyway, so they've been leading up to this for a little bit. They're going to start telling the story of the Nine, which are these like 9 celestial sort of godlike beings. Each one represents each of the planets in our solar system, including the sun, which is not a planet. I know, it's a star. Anyways, and I was like, okay, that's a cool direction to take Destiny 2, because that is a thing that's kind of always been simmering in the background for a long time, years and years and years. And that seems like a really great place to start this next saga. And is going to start surrounding Orin, who was the emissary of the Nine, who's basically their guardian. So they're kind of one of us, but does all the bidding for. It's a Silver Surfer, basically. You just call it like as it is. So I was like, okay, this seems pretty cool. Like this seems like a really great direction. There's going to be a brand new planet, Kepler, who's this kind of like set outside of time and threatened by a black hole. You have this brand new character, Lodi, who looks basically like every Destiny 2 streamer that you've ever seen, which in an interesting way of like, he just looks like a regular dude that you would probably be friends with. So like, there's a bunch of really interesting things that are going on here. And they had announced the new kind of way you interface with the game called the Portal. And it was really meant to be... So how Destiny functioned before was you had the Director, which was everybody has seen a screenshot of just this kind of field of planets and icons that you could select from, and there's the tower, there's all the planets in the solar system, there's like the PvP node, and here's the strikes node and Gambit and all that stuff. They were largely looking to I would say initially compliment the director, and then long term probably replace it with something that is a lot more accessible and potentially a lot more familiar to new players. Of saying, like, I will admit, as much as anybody that plays Destiny 2 and is being serious about it, Destiny 2 is incredibly overwhelming to get into. And it only gets more complicated and it only gets more overwhelming as time goes on. And their solution was sort of like, we're going to give the people a menu that's basically like, okay, are you looking to do stuff solo? Here's solo ops. And these are going to be short missions you can do just by yourself. You want to do stuff with the fire team? Here's fire team ops. They're going to be a little bit longer, and you'll most of it will have matchmaking. You want to do something a little bit more intense than that? You have pinnacle ops, and those are kind of your exotic missions and stuff that's a little bit longer, up to like 30, 40 minutes. And then you have your kind of PvP stuff. And I think from an accessibility and onboarding standpoint for new players, that seems to be successful so far. It seems to be a really good entry point of like, okay, cool. Like, as an example, part of what they did during this expansion is they've squished power levels. So before we started this expansion, we were power level 2000. We're now 10. Damage before was like in the thousands to tens of thousands. They are now in the tens. If you're doing 100 damage, you're doing a lot of damage. So they're really doing like a stat squish. I think a lot of that stuff on the surface is good. I just think that they're how they have put it into place, their execution of it is pretty bad. And it's not because it's a new system. Like, I think that's the natural kind of inclination, is like, oh, they changed my game. Yeah. They changed the game I play every week, and now it's totally different. I'm okay with them shaking this game up. I've been playing these games for 10, almost 11 years. Like, please, do some shaking up. I'm fine. But I think the amount of changes they've made and some of the decisions they've made have been pretty bad. I will say, a lot of the story stuff that they have had so far has been solid. I think the story that they're telling with Orin and Lodi and Ikora and Your Guardian and Kepler and all of that, I think is really solid. I think for once, this is like a really weird piece of feedback, and I appreciate it when I say it. I think there's too many missions, which, like, I know is a really weird thing to say, but like, there's like 15 or 16 missions in this, which is about double the number we usually get, which would be fine, except so many of the missions in this kind of boil down to the same thing of like, I do a short little piece, I figure out a little puzzle with one of the new mechanics. People have probably seen some of them. You can turn it into like a Metroid ball and do some puzzling with that. You can get a portal gun and make portals, and then you can get this like a special grenade that moves stuff around the environment, and like makes platforms and stuff. So you solve a puzzle with one of those, then you fight a boss, and basically the boss will have a couple of health gates. When you hit one of the health gates, you're going to have to use one of those things to figure out a puzzle to break its health gate, and then you're going to do it again. So like, in the past, the most exciting part of a Destiny expansion has historically been, what cool stuff and like cool one-off things am I going to see or am I going to do in this expansion? And maybe I'll never do them again, but that's okay, because like, I got to do an expansion and it was really cool. I'm not getting any of that. Like, I'm getting the same mission over and over again, but I'm kind of, the only variable we're changing is I'm doing it as a ball or I'm doing it with a portal gun this time. And it's sort of like, okay, cool, but like, there's nothing like bombastic like I usually get from a Destiny expansion where it's like, man, that mission was super cool, or like that mission was super long and we went to like 4 different places in this one area. Like, there's really nothing like that. And then, so like, that's fine, but all of the systems they put around everything else feels really rough. And a, a large part of it is because there's just not enough stuff in this game right now to hold up a system like this. And I know that sounds bananas for a game that's been live for now almost 8 years. But with the portal, they haven't put all of the stuff from the game into the portal system. So, like, if you're going to do Fireteam Ops, that doesn't include every strike in the game. It only includes like 4 of them. And that's maybe a third of them or a quarter of them right now. So, like, you can go do that to get gear and get your power level up and stuff, but you're gonna sort of be playing a lot of the same content over and over again, which isn't fun. And honestly, I've been playing that content for 7 years now, except for the stuff that they have removed, which is like a whole separate problem with Destiny 2. Like, there are no dungeons or raids in the portal system at the moment. There are no lost sectors. Like, they have a sort of replacement for them, which they're okay, but like a lot of this stuff that is in the game already and didn't need to be like bespoke created doesn't exist in this system. So as you're trying to increase your power level, the portal is really clear about, like, one of the first things is like, okay, all of this stuff in the portal is grayed out except for this one node that you start with. And that'll be the one you run until your power level is 90. And you're going to get to 90 fairly quickly, because you'll get a pretty big power level increase from doing basically anything across the game, which is nice. And then once you hit 90, the next node opens up and it's like, okay, it's more challenging. You're going to get better rewards. And you can kind of craft your difficulty. So you can, there's like a whole scoring system they put in this. So like, the better you do and the faster you do it in a lot of these activities, you'll get more loot, and that loot will be better, which sounds okay, but so much of it from a systems level is tied to, like, in Destiny 2 previously, you and your friends could go do like a Grandmaster Nightfall, which is kind of one of the end game PvE activities. And even if you guys struggled through it the whole time and really had a bunch of issues with it, you could still complete it and you would still get end game PvP or PvE rewards. And that felt good. But in this game, number one, you can't, in this version of Destiny 2, number one, you can't access that difficulty until your power level is high enough. And then 2, if you do complete that, your rewards are based on your existing power level. So even if you go through and you complete like a really hard activity, it kind of doesn't mean anything because the gear that you're going to get isn't good yet because you're not geared up. So it's like this system that is supposed to feed into itself, but it doesn't in a way that feels satisfying or feels rewarding. And on top of that, every time a new season rolls around now, the max power cap is like 450. Now, whenever a new season rolls around, everybody, if you're over power level 200, you get squished down to 200, and you need to grow. You know, like run that power increase, like that power treadmill again. So sort of like, well, why am I investing anything into this system above 200 when it's all going to get wiped anyways? And then to get the good loot, I'm going to have to grind a lot to get back to the place I still was a little bit ago. And like, the feedback I've seen from a lot of people is like, oh, well, how dare we have grinding in the grinding game? I don't mind that. Listen to when I was just talking about the Division 2. I'm more than happy to do that when I feel like the level of investment matches what I'm getting back. And in Destiny 2, I think for the first time in a really long time, I kind of look at it and it's like, okay, cool, I can run this one 5-minute solo ops mission until my eyes are bleeding to get myself to the point where I can get better gear. But then in a couple of months, that doesn't matter again, and I need to do the same thing. So, like, it's all kind of like, what's the point? And, like, this is coming from me, like, the Destiny's last defender. It's really disappointing to see them, like, I don't really mind, and, like, this is also coming from me, someone who's played a lot of the Diablo 3 seasons, where each season you start a character from level 1, and you start the entire game back over. Like, that still felt fun, because a lot of what you were getting from something like Diablo 3 was like, you're getting a lot of seasonal bonuses that were incredibly overpowered. In a really fun way. So like, starting back from zero felt good because you got all these fun new tools to play with and all this kind of exciting power. And with Destiny, it's sort of like, cool, I can go do that grinding, but there's nothing. You have such a small amount of an already small amount of stuff that's left in your game. Because, like, I'll still talk about the elephant in the room, which is, you know, Bungie removed a ton of this game when they did the Destiny Content Vault stuff. Most of that stuff has not found its way back into the game, including, like, the entire tutorial. So, like, you've already removed a significant amount of the game then, and I will be fair, there has been stuff like strikes and raids and stuff that has been brought back into the game. But, like, that stuff isn't present in the portal. So, like, I can't even play the full breadth of the stuff that I have been playing for a while to grind in this new system. And it's kind of made worse by Kepler, the new destination itself, because there isn't, like, when you finish the campaign, haven't finished the campaign yet, so I'm going off a lot on, which is like damning in and of itself, but like, they did this same thing in the the Edge of Fate. I almost called it the Phantom Pain. It's a very different game. They did this with the Final Shape also, and it made sense with the Final Shape, where you go to this destination, the Pale Heart in the Final Shape's case, and Destiny always likes calling you the tip of the spear. You're the tip of the spear, and you're the first one to look at this place and explore it, and like, it was kind of made cool because you're setting up like little camps as you're going deeper and deeper in the Pale Heart. but so you were the only one in the Pale Heart for that campaign, which made sense. But they did the same thing with Kepler here. And from a storyline stance, it makes sense again, but I'm kind of over it because Destiny feels so empty now, because this is now 2 destinations in a row where there are no other players. Like, unless you bring your friends along, which, let's be honest, none of my friends are playing this game anymore, because they either left after Final Shape, which I don't blame them, or they never made it there in the first place, which I don't blame them. So, like, it's just me on this new planet by myself, which doesn't feel really that great. And then when you finish the campaign, there's nothing. Like, there are no lost sectors, there are no patrols, there are no public events, there's like one kind of quasi public event thing that people are doing once for the new exotic weapon and then never doing again. So, like, there's this big expansion that just feels empty and it just feels lifeless. And for a game that's so much about joining up with other guardians and playing with your friends, or playing with a bunch of blueberries that you just ran into, or like joining people to do all this stuff, there's just nobody else around, and there's nothing to do when there is someone around. And I think the fair question that somebody could ask is like, well, why don't you go do some of the older content? Like, why don't you go run stuff from some of the older activities or planets or stuff like that? I would, but it doesn't drop the new loot. And they have totally redone how weapons and armor work. Like, there are gear sets now which are fine. Like, it's kind of past time that they've done that. And there's like tiers of armor and weapons, which I won't go into. None of the old content drops any of that stuff. So, like, you can go do that to maybe infuse the current gear that you're using if you've been playing for a long time, but it's not going to get you any of the cool new stuff. So, like, why would I bother doing that? It's a real bummer, and I had some concerns about this expansion going into it, especially with kind of the lack of things that Bungie was showing, especially the lack of expansion focused kind of non-free things. But I think, unfortunately, it turns out that Destiny 2 is in kind of a worse spot than it has ever been, which is a real bummer to say. And then here I've been trying to keep an eye on what like the new player experience is, because it's like, all right, you brought the portal in, you made it easier to like find the things to do and find the places to start. It still seems like it's a little bit overwhelming and confusing for new players. So, like, none of it seems like it really landed, unfortunately. Just a real bummer, man. Like, I don't know. I'm nowhere close to finishing the season pass, and this might be the first season or expansion that I don't. Oh, also, there's no season that launched with this expansion. So there's no like seasonal activity or seasonal destination or seasonal storyline or anything. None of that. So like the offerings are really, really thin for this expansion, and I could see myself, for the first time in a really long time, finishing the campaign. I'm kind of dragging myself across the finish line, and then kind of being done with Destiny 2 until maybe the next. I like I always do, I pay for the like big expansion where it's like you get the next year of Destiny 2 until the next like major update or expansion. I could see myself kind of being done with Destiny, which is a really wild thought of like, you haven't kept someone like me around, which is a dude that plays it like a lot every week. Um, I think that's kind of shocking and worrying, and surprising for myself at the very least. So um, I don't know. It's I'm like grappling with a lot of thoughts here about Destiny 2 overall of just like what are we doing here? Like there's an element for sure of like breaking the bone to reset it with Destiny 2. If you're not going to do Destiny 3, like you got to make some major changes. But I think the the bone you break has to be better on the other end after it sets. And it doesn't really seem like we're going to be in that position anytime soon unless there are really major changes that are being made. And that's a real bummer for a game that I genuinely really loved like 3 weeks ago. uh, I probably should have saved this to flip flop these two games, but like that's the last game I've played, and it's really wild to see the kind of stark difference between Destiny 2 and Division 2. Two games that have never really been pitted against each other. Like they've never really been in competition, but I think they kind of live in the same neighborhood, largely. And to see Division 2, a game that had largely been in stasis for a little while, really get a second lease on life, and then see Destiny 2, a game that has been fairly well supported by Bungie over the last couple of years, kind of trip over its own feet in a really bad way here. So I'm hoping, Bungie's famous thing is like, we're listening, and I don't doubt that they are, but I really hope that they find some way to kind of either get the portal and related systems in a much better spot, or make some major changes in the short term. Otherwise, I'm not sure how many people are going to kind of be around to see the rest of it. So that's Destiny 2. That's all I've been playing. Let's move over to releases for August 2025. First up, we have Titan Quest 2 comes out in early access on August 1st for PC. It should be available on Epic and Steam. I'm having the most like Mandela effect with this possible. I could have sworn that Titan Quest 2 came out in like 2008. And everyone's like, we're finally getting the sequel to 2006's Titan Quest. And I was like, I could have sworn that I know there was like an expansion for the first one. I think that's where I'm getting confused. But I'm like, man, I could have. Are you sure that should be Titan Quest 3? Like, didn't we do? But nope. This is THQ Nordic's coming out with Titan Quest 2, which, like I said, the sequel to 2006's Titan Quest 1, which I liked a lot when it came out. I think of all the kind of Diablo-ish loot games like this that I've played, I like Titan Quest 1 quite a bit. So I'm really curious. I'm kind of surprised this is coming out in early access. I feel like we don't see a lot of games like this do that. But I'm really curious to see how this turns out. Early access is only on PC. I think the final version of this is coming to consoles as well. I haven't really seen a release time frame for the full game, so we'll.
Didn't they? My memory's real bad on this game in particular, but I remember you were always a fan of it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they add this to consoles like 10 years, or like Titan Quest 1, didn't that come on consoles like a decade after
it came out on consoles like 2 years ago or something? Like, yeah, it was really like Titan Quest is coming out on consoles, and I was like, cool, that game is really good, but like, Wow. Okay. I thought if you would have told me like it's a hidden PS2 gem, I would have been like, yeah, man, sure, of course it is. But no, just it's wild. So excited, excited to see where that ends up. I'll keep kind of half an eye on that. Next up, Cat Quest 3 on August 8th comes out on macOS, iOS, and Android. This has already been out on consoles and PC for a couple of months. I think it came out maybe a year ago, if I remember correctly. Um, I really liked Cat Quest 1 and 2. These are real, not super hardcore, kind of isometric hack and slash dungeon crawlers. A lot of puns. This has co-op in it. This has a lot of sailing this time in it. I think if you're looking for something to play with your kid, and your kid is like that kind of 10-year-old range, and is looking for some co-op stuff, I think this would be a really great choice. Or like if you're looking for something kind of on the easier end of the spectrum to play with, like with a partner, play with some friends or something, the Cat Quest games seem like they're really pretty great. So excited to see this come out to other stuff. Speaking of another game that's coming out, something else, Black Myth Wukong comes out on series consoles on August 20th. I think this was available on everything else before, not on Switch, but maybe this will come to Switch too at some point. But it was available on PC and PS5 before this. So now it's coming on series consoles. I feel like this is one of those few games we talk about that kind of needs no introduction with how huge it was last year, and reviews seemed solid. People seem to really enjoy it, or at least sort of say like it had some cool ideas, but maybe it wasn't for me. So pretty exciting that series consoles owners will be able to play that now. Speaking of Destiny Rising comes out on iOS and Android August 28th. This is the mobile Destiny game. Want to say this up front, it's made by NetEase, and it is a gacha game. So do with that what you will. In the alphas that they have had so far, the gacha rates have been generous so far. And the gacha is basically the character that you're playing as. So you're getting new characters to play as. So you're not really like playing as your guardian. But feedback has, unfortunately, I haven't been able to get in the any of the alphas, which is a bummer. But people seem to really like this. There's a ton of content in this game, including a fishing minigame, of course. They just added like a new roguelike mode in there. There's a bunch of raids. There's a whole ton of stuff in there. So I'm really excited to get my hands on it. I'll probably do a bunch of streaming with this because it seems pretty neat, and it's a Destiny thing. So I'll check it out and see how it turns out, and see how the gacha is going to turn out. But that seems pretty neat. So hear from me. I guess listen next month for me to talk about a Destiny gacha game for Destiny Rising. Next game here, a game that is not in my wheelhouse at all, and I know so little about these games because for the longest time they have not come out in the U.S. Super Robot Wars Y comes out on PS5 Switch and PC on August 28th. I know these are grid-based tactics RPGs. I know a lot of these games are the big robot crossover games. But this is a real blind spot for me for games, for these types of games. Have you ever played any of these, Musim?
I have always meant to, and I never have. Like, I know they're very long, and every time we've gotten one in the U.S., it's either hasn't had much in the way of the crossover stuff, which is my initial thing, or I miss it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm always curious. I just, I need more time than I do. And oh, that's cool. That's like I should recognize these things.
Yeah,
Should
I
say,
recognize some of
okay,
the like, oh, here's like a Gundam Wing guy.
yeah,
I'm
there's
also like not a big. I love mechs. Like, come on, I like anime, so I like mechs. But like, a lot of them are sort of like, yeah, that's a mech I feel like have seen before? Question
yeah,
mark. Um,
it is. I know I used to be a Gundam fiend, but I just I have not kept up with a lot of it. I mean, everyone recognizes the G Gundam, God Gundam, and
mhm,
things like that, and
right,
some of those old '70s mechs that I never remember the name of. But
right.
I mean, honestly, my favorite kind of Gundam related mech game was oh, no, I'm gonna forget. It came out for PS2.
Oh, okay. That's a.
It was fun because you could MS Saga.
Oh,
Um,
right. Mm-hmm.
and I doubt it holds up, but
Right.
it's like you could swap limbs out between the different Gundam models and things
That's
like
cool.
that. And
That's great.
there's a lot of cool customization, which is really what I want.
Yeah.
I think also playing Project X or Project Cross Zone, I apologize.
Right. Right.
Um, kind of showed me that the gameplay in a lot of these cross games aren't good. Uh,
Right. Yeah,
it's
like how much of it is like the like power fantasy of like smacking your toys together of being like, of course, Batman and
yeah.
Superman would fight. Yes, it's like how much of it is that, and to be fair, these might have gotten better as as actual SRPGs over time. But again, I really don't know. So
Well, it's probably not fair of me to judge this series by Project Cross Zone
right,
because
right.
this series is, I think, been around longer and seems to have like some popularity to it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't. With everything, I'm taking a ton of trips this fall, and I have two records I would like to print of music, and all of that costs a lot of money. So I
Yeah,
just don't see me picking this up when it comes out. Maybe when it gets down to $10 or $20, if it gets some good reviews, maybe.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so that's coming out August 28th. And last but not least, here we have Lost Soul Aside, which was originally called the China Hero Project from Sony. Um, comes out on August 29th on PS5 and PC. This is the game I kept forgetting about. It's been in on and off development since 2014. And Sony invested in this, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, of saying like, okay, this is. I think they're trying to do more investment in the Chinese market, and this is a pretty big developer there. And I'm surprised at how much people are really looking forward to this. Not because I think it looks bad. I think it looks fine. Just because of like, oh yeah, this is a game I keep forgetting about, and there's a bunch of people just frothing at the mouth for this thing to come out. So it seems to be kind of like an actiony hack and slash thing. I think if you were to make comparisons to Devil May Cry, I think you could understand how this game would kind of look. Not sure if it's how it'll play, but I think if you think about Devil May Cry, you get the right kind of view on how the game looks. Um, and it looks kind of neat. I don't know. I haven't really seen too many previews on it. Um, uh, Reviews aren't out quite yet because it comes out at the end of the month, but it seems like something that's kind of neat, especially if you're looking to fill that DMC sized hole in your heart. Seems like this might be something to at least keep an eye on. All right, let's move on to our one news story. The Nintendo Direct, sorry, the Nintendo Partner Direct for July 2025. Usually don't talk about these because usually RPGs are not the focus or even the like the kind of like, oh yeah, we got a bunch of RPGs, whatever. Like usually that's not even the thing. But there are a bunch of RPGs This time starting off with Monster Hunter Stories 3 Twisted Reflection. Um, this one, there wasn't much, if any, gameplay in this one. Seems to be a lot of like, yes, we know you love the first two. They're available now on current consoles. We're gonna make a third one. So I think that's really great. These are the kind of not monster hunting RPG ones, so they're more of a traditional kind of JRPG. I keep meaning to pick these up and play them because I like how Monster Hunter stuff looks, but I don't want to get into like we were talking about the kind of loot treadmill earlier. I know the loot treadmill for Monster Hunter would really get me, and that's why I'm staying away from it. So like you give me something that's like still the cool like Monster Hunter design, and it's like a finishable thing, that seems like something that's a lot more appealing to me from like a self-preservation standpoint. Next game here is, where's the chapter here? Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles. Not a ton of new footage here for this one. A lot of just kind of like, hey, if you forgot how Final Fantasy Tactics looks, it's that. Although it still has that filter over it. There's some stuff they showed off here, like the voice acting. They did like half of one line of the voice acting. Sounds fine. Sounds British because it's a Square Enix game. You know, they're kind of taking it seriously when they break out the British voice actors. They show how the map looks now. They show a little bit of like, if you played Final Fantasy Tactics before, there's like a better tooltip when you're picking abilities and attacks in battles and stuff. So like there's some improved stuff here. I also found it pretty funny that they mispronounced Ivalice in the trailer here. They call it Ivalice, which is pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah, not been pronouncing it Ivalice for a really long time, so I don't know where that's coming from. Next game they showed here, though, is Persona 3 Reload, coming to Switch 2 October 23rd, 2025. If you haven't played Persona 3, you should really play Persona 3. It's real good, and I never got deep enough in this one to see all the improvements, but from what everyone's been saying, it's like, yeah, they took out a lot of the annoyances from the original one, because, like, look, I love original Persona 3. It's kind of an annoying game once you start getting into Tartarus of like, oh, all these floors are the same, huh? How many floors are there? Ah, sheesh. Okay, great. So I think they've done away with quite a bit of that. So if you haven't played that before, check it out. Persona 4 will probably be coming there at some point too, and then the remake will come there too at some point. So if Atlas is good for anything, it's just putting all their games on as much as they can, and we'll see. I'm sure Metaphor will make there at some point, so we'll see. Next games here, Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2 are getting Switch 2 releases here. I think that's really great because 0 is already on there, the kind of new version of 0, director's cut, if I remember correctly. Is that what they call it? So you'll be able to play the first 3 Yakuza games natively on Switch 2, which is great. That's a lot of games between all 3 of them. So you kind of can't go wrong with all of those. Those are all really, really good. So that's coming out November 13th, 2025. They kind of, so they did the thing that they do every once in a while, like, we have 2 more games to show you. We're almost done. And the last 2 games are Square Enix games. First up is The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales, which is a new HD 2D title from Square. You've probably seen people talk about Philadelphia, whatever that town's name is, that has been memed to the ends of the earth at the moment. Um, this game's really interesting because it, from a gameplay perspective, and there's a demo of it out on Switch 2, and it'll be coming to everything on full release. A lot of people are saying it's just like Secret of Mana, just kind of like a new version of that battle system. Um, I think that's really interesting because I when I think of their kind of HD 2D stuff, it's not really the thing I think of. I think of like Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy and kind of the slower, more turn-based stuff. But I think that's really interesting to have them do kind of a more action-based game like this. Um, and I do have to say, I'm unfortunately sort of known as the HD2D disliker here. I think it looks really good in this. I think when Square can kind of pull back on some of the blurriness that you see in like Octopath Traveler and some of the stuff you see in Triangle Strategy, I think this engine looks really good. Like the Dragon Quest III remake they did looks really good
Oh yeah.
in this engine because they kind of pulled back some of this stuff of like this engine looks really good. Just stop messing with it, and like it looks really good. Like how shocking. Um, so I think this looks really neat. It's nice to see Square do something like this that seems like a little bit out of their current wheelhouse, especially for something that looks doesn't have like a huge like Final Fantasy 16 budget behind it or anything, which I think is pretty exciting. So there's a demo out now, and it comes out sometime next year, so sometime in 2026. So, and then confusingly, the last title they showed here was Octopath Traveler 0, which is there's some lineage here. So for the last couple of years, there's been this mobile game called Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent. It's a mobile gacha game. And basically you're pulling on banners to pull new party members. And people seem to really like it, and it seemed like it was very playable even if you didn't dump money into the gacha stuff. What's weird about this is Square sold that game to another company a little bit ago, and the other company has sort of continued to run it and maintain it. And then Square comes out here and is like, "Oh yeah, by the way, Octopath Traveler 0, we're just gonna make a new standalone game that's based on Champions of the Continent story." So like we're done with this mobile thing, but now we're gonna make like an offline single player version of that thing. So that's kind of
Hey,
wild.
so that is crazy, but I'll tell you, I feel like that opens the Pandora's box. So now go back and take all these gotcha games and
Mm-hmm.
make us nice single player,
Right.
non-online, non-gotcha versions of them.
Well, I mean, as much as people loved the Near mobile game that's now shut down, do that. Like you guys also, from what I understand, Square owned that the whole time. Square put out Near, right? Am I
Yes.
okay? I was just like, oh my
Yes,
god, have
yes,
I lost it?
absolutely.
Yeah. So
Because
like, the,
I had oddly pre-ordered that originally from
oh, from the
okay.
Square store.
Apropos of nothing. Yes.
Yeah.
When they did the Near Automata, I had pre-ordered it and I just couldn't come to terms with paying $150 for a game that I've never played before
Right.
and wound up canceling it. But I remember going through that because their
Right.
store is not the best interface,
No, God.
especially a
Yeah.
decade ago.
Yeah. So like that could open the door for some stuff there, especially for a game that has since been retired and shut down. Like, it would be great for people. Said the story of that was really incredible. And it's like, okay, if this does well enough, I hope that at least Square
Yeah.
does some of that stuff, and I'd love to see some other publishers. It would make sense if they only did it for like retired games or games that are retiring, but it'd be really neat to see more of this happening.
Yeah, now make a contract with that Epic 7 company and make me a single player non-gotcha out
You
of
know,
that.
speaking of Epic 7, I saw I got a an ad for that on Instagram the other day. I was like, God, this game looks so familiar. Like, what is this? And it was just like, play Epic 7 now. And I was like, no, get out of here. I can't go. I had this moment of like, God, what would Epic 7 look like right now? And I like smacked myself on the face. It's like, no, stop it.
I
Put that down.
every once so okay, we'll do another aside. Um I have a tabletop gaming group that gets together. We're supposed to get together every 2 weeks, but it's turned into more like every 2 months.
Mm.
And when we aren't gaming there, like I bring my iPad, which my character sheet is, and I've
Oh, sure.
just started during those times haphazardly starting up Epic 7 and not playing it any other time, just these nights.
Right.
Um,
Just
and
having it
you know, it's
grinding in the
still,
background.
yeah, it
Yeah.
still gives me the little the serotonin or
Yeah.
dopamine rushes, and
Yep.
you know, you disappear from that game for a couple months, and it just gives you like a crap load of free things.
Welcome
So,
back. Here's some stuff. It's
um,
like, dang, all right, yeah, let's do it.
and they keep changing like major systems. Like I
Oh
think one of
wow.
the last ones I noticed was, oh, they got rid of the Phantasm's whatever level up system.
Mm.
It's still a little convoluted, and
Sure.
you have to sell off half of your inventory because they don't remove that stuff.
Right. Right.
Um, and I guess I did put a little bit of effort into it in that game session that I got on Reddit. I'm like, what the heck do I do with these? Oh, nothing.
Right.
Okay.
Oh man.
Um,
Maybe
but
maybe someday I'll go back. Of like, I haven't
I
felt
don't
that
think
itch
those
to
games
play a
are
gotcha
healthy.
game lately, and but like if I did, I'd probably go back to that. That was a great game. I played a
I
lot of that. Like you and I both played a lot of that.
Yeah. The problem, like gotcha games could like they really are a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are really high quality. The
Hmm.
problem is they're so financially predatory
Yeah.
towards all of their users. Like the amount of pop-up ads and the amount of events they run to that they make sure you can't, you know,
Yep.
you're probably not going to finish like the event and get the character unless you give them $5 or
Right.
probably more likely $50.
Right.
Um,
Well, and what really got me too in Epic 7 eventually was like, oh, I want to play all of like the story missions. And eventually some point it's like, okay, you need to get up to like this account level or this character level or this
yeah,
power or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, to do that I need to like uncap my favorite team. And to do that, I need to do this grinding stuff for all this stuff. And each one of these has like a 5% grind chance. And oh, I'll just do a bunch of grind. Oh, I ran out of energy, and now I need to do. It's like
yeah,
all these like systems kept compounding in a way that felt like either I needed to have that long term investment, which I'm not upset about, or I could just pay $50. And I'd be like, here you go, you pass all of it. And it's like, I don't know, man.
yeah.
Feels bad.
I my brain just doesn't do well with those games. Like I
Yeah.
usually succumb to the money thing, and so I just, you know, what was it? Was it Final Fantasy Brave Exvius? Was that the Final Fantasy one?
Yeah, I played that a
Um,
lot too.
like that one, I loved. And I was so excited when they started doing the Xenogears characters,
Yeah.
and I can't remember. I feel like I played like 5 or 6 of them, and you know, it's you know, I guarantee you, I spent like $1,000 in each game, like
Hmm.
on different years.
I spent a bunch in Brave Exvius too. And like part of what gets me in those games, and part of the reason why I don't like a lot of current gotcha games is like I I don't want to play like a third person shooter or like a third person action beat 'em up game on my phone. And I know someone will say, "Hey, didn't you just talk about playing Destiny Rising?" Yes, I'll be playing that on a PC emulator. Um, but like that's part of the reason why I liked Brave Exvius or It's that Final Fantasy, the one about the library. That one was really good. Epic 7, like I like those because they're largely menu driven. Like I go pick a place, I pick my skills, I do all that stuff. I'm not like wandering around a town. I'm not doing a third person shooting thing. I can play it in bed at 11 o'clock at night and like kind of be okay with it. And there's not a lot of stuff right now out that kind of scratches that same itch. So,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I just tone it like get less greedy, guys. I know making games are
yeah.
expensive, but like just quit trying to take everyone for all their money. Like we really have an addictive society in a lot of this stuff, and like
Yeah.
you have a really good game, you could just settle for like even if they did like a okay, we're going to take all the paid currency stuff out, but we're going to add like a $20 a month subscription
Mhm.
thing. Like I would pay that for like Epic 7.
Yeah.
Like if they
Right.
dropped all the other BS out,
That's right.
made it easier for me to progress through the story, like that would be, I, you
That
know,
would probably
I,
get
I
me,
love
yeah.
a lot about that game, but I don't know. It's probably good anyway. Those games really are kind of like a second job, I guess is
Yeah.
the other issue.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
uh,
All right. Well, that is our episode. Thank you everyone for listening. Musum, where can we find you online?
you can find me and all my music at my link tree, linktr.ee/JOHNMUSIM. That's linktree/John Musin.
You can find all of the places I'm at over at my campsite, campsite.bio/Jansten, Jansten. Later on this month, I will be starting a lot more streaming. So if you want to watch me play a lot of this stuff we're talking about on this show, you can check me out twitch.tv/Jansten Plays. All links to all that stuff is on my campsite page, including my YouTube channel, which should have more stuff going on it regularly. Um, all right, I think that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And we'll see you all next month. Bye.
Bye.